Good afternoon and welcome to our Facebook Live on Monday the 20th of January 2020, and it's lovely and bright and sunny here. My name's Jenny McCormack from Jemini Crafts, and I'm going to talk you through the cards we made at Coffee and Card. Just giving the system a minute or two to get itself together. With any luck. Right, so welcome. The set that we used this week for Coffee and Card is this one here. It's called, as you can see, Music from the Heart, and it consists obviously of musical stamps. Not that the stamps are musical, of course, but they feature music and music related subjects. So we have obviously here the stave where the lines of notes would go on your music paper. We have the treble clef that would go here on the left hand side. We have the top of a guitar which can connect to the treble clef to make a guitar, which I'll show you later. We have obviously a grand piano. We have a keyboard here up on the left hand side. We have some musical notes. So for those of you that know your music, we have crotchets and quavers here. A little heart that you could use, and then this note here has got a heart built into it. And then we have a series of nice sentiments. So just a note, which you can use on its own. Just a note of thanks, which you can use together. It's got a nice happy birthday. You've got You Rock and You're the Music in My Heart. So a really nice set. So there's 19 stamps in there altogether, and the set itself is £16. So it's a good value set. It's photopolymer, so as you can see, not that I've got them in there, the set itself is clear, so it makes it really easy to line up and look through. So let me show you the samples that we had, and then I'll take you through how we made some. So these are in no particular order, they're just as they came out of the pack themselves from this morning. Hi to Baz, nice to see you this morning, Baz. Thank you so much for joining us. So this one here, I've used the stave and the treble clef, and I've stamped these birds. Now these birds are really cute. They are individual, even though it looks like it could be one stamp. They're individual ones, so they would be perfect to use really on any cards, especially cards with trees and things like that. So on this one, what I did was make it basically look like it's a telegraph wire. And so the birds are sitting on the top, and then I've used just a note there in the same Pacific Point ink to match the birds themselves. Okay, so there's that one there. For this one, I've stamped the keyboard, so this is the keyboard stamp, and basically I've just done those fairly random, and then I've added the notes in to fill in any gaps, and then I've added a happy birthday at the bottom. I do like the style of this happy birthday, but obviously you could use any other birthday sentiment that you had. So that's that one there. So I was thinking along the lines possibly of valentines for this particular one. So I've got just a note, but the notes I've done this time with hearts in red in place of the notes themselves. So I just thought that'd be a little bit of fun. So that's that one there. For this one, I've stamped the keyboards in the background, and then I've stamped the piano. I stamped it in black and then have coloured it in with blends pens, just in a smoky slate grey. You could also stamp and then colour that in brown to make it look like a wood effect piano. And then I've just added You're the Music in My Heart. So all of these have been stamped ready to go onto note card and envelope sized cards, and I've used red, black or grey in the main for the backing. If you don't like puns, you won't like this one, but we have treble clefs there, and it says forget your trebles. Which I thought was quite clever, but I know quite a few of my customers find some of the puns we have slightly corny. So if you're one of those that doesn't like them, then sorry about that. Just put happy birthday instead. So all I've done here is stamp the treble clefs in a random pattern. I've added the notes in and then added the hearts and the sentiment. I stamped the sentiment quite early to make sure that I had space for that. Okay, and then nice and plain and simple, the just literally all black and white. So this would make a really nice set of note cards and envelopes for somebody that enjoys music, and I've just added those on. So that's some samples for you. So I'm going to do one with the music to get started. So I would recommend using one of our piercing mats, stamping mats underneath, especially when you're using photopolymer stamps, and especially where you've got something that is all on one line, so it would be really noticeable if something was missing. I did a couple last week and I didn't have the mat, and if you're working on a hard surface, it's very difficult to get all of that lined up ready. So I'm just going to place that on there, and we're going to use Memento Black, but to be honest, you could use any black ink. You could use StazOn. I think we used a mixture of StazOn last week. So all I'm doing is taking the ink pad to the stamp just to make sure I've got nice even coverage of that. Hopefully that will be enough ink. So I'm going to centralise that so I can see what I'm doing. And when you're placing this down, if you want to use the treble clef, don't put it too high, because the treble clef is actually quite big and you want to leave some space for it to fit. One or two of the earlier ones I just did it a little bit too high. There we go. Okay, so here you can see a perfect reason why you need the mat. So I didn't quite put enough pressure on there, so I'm going to turn that over and just re-ink it. I could try and line it up again, but I won't. Now what I should have done was looked a bit more carefully at the stamp. So it just goes to show that patchy stamping can be achieved. Right, let's try that. Okay, here we go. Not quite sure why I put it quite so far out of my reach this time. Right, so I'm just going to give that a good amount of pressure. Bit extra pressure where that dip seems to be. There we go. That's better. Okay, so there's my musical stave. I am going to add the treble clef. So I'm just going to make sure that's well inked. It is nice and bright here today, so that does definitely help. I'm just going to pop that in on on the left hand side, just a little way in from the left hand side. Now obviously this is not 100% accurate music because we don't have any time like 3/4 or 4/4 or anything else like that. We don't have lines at the end. If you were particularly keen on having something more accurate, obviously you could add that in yourself. You could use the basic black blends pen, which is what I'm going to do in a minute. Right, so let me see. We're going to stamp some notes. So I've got these two. So it's a crochet and a quaver. Quaver's half a crochet or a cheesy snack, depending on whether you're musical or not. So I'm actually going to do the music for Happy Birthday. So I'm actually going to stamp Happy Birthday first, while I remember. And then I'm going to put the musical notes for Happy Birthday. And no, I didn't do it from memory or anything else. I had to look it up. So obviously Happy Birthday can be in lots of different keys, but I just looked it up for this purpose today. There we go. Oh, I'll press that a bit hard now. Alright, so I'm going to do my Happy Birthday, and it's going to start with the D, I think. Yes, it is D. So I'm going to space this out a little bit. Oh. And you do need to make sure you've covered that really well, so just going to move that down a little bit because it's a little bit out of my line of sight. Hopefully that will work. So I'm going to have two of these, and I'm going to link them together with my pen. So I'm just checking that I've got it nicely covered. It's better. So I've got two D's and then an E. Oh, hi Marion. Marion's joined us. Oh, still didn't do very well. I'm going to colour that one in a second. I seem to have a patch on my ink pad. Right. And then this is another D. So this one is going below the line. And then we have a G. So I did do music many years ago when I was a teenager. I played piano. That was my main thing. Can't sing for toffee, so don't ask me to sing, but I did play the piano. Right, so this is a G, like so, and then an F to finish with. So I've spaced this out, hopefully, fairly accurately. So just take your time inking up the stamp. Sorry if that's slightly out of the picture when I'm inking it up, but just want to take the time to ink it up. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is take my basic black, dark basic black blends pen, and I'm actually going to colour in that one there because I didn't stamp it very well. So just going to add a little bit of line in there, and then these two here need to be joined together. There we go. So that is, I won't sing it, Happy Birthday to you. There we go. So move my ink pad out of the way for the minute, and I'm going to layer that up onto a black card, I think. So I'm going to go all black. I just like that black and white crisp look. So I'm going to move that out of the way. so I can see it. And let's just, there's my one I did earlier, not very well. So I'm just going to use my snail glue across the ends, bit in the middle. I'm going to pop that onto my black. So these are all size for note cards and envelopes. Ah, excellent, Marion. Yes. I'll show you the other ones at the end as well, because I think you would have missed those when we first started. And that's going to go onto a note card and envelope. So here are my note cards tucked in here. So I'm just going to literally put that onto there and then stamp something on the inside. So I'm actually going to put the treble clef on the inside, I think. So again, apologies if this is just out of shot for inking up. Making sure it's nicely inked. I'm just going to put this down here on the right hand side. Make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. Like that. And I'm also going to do one on the envelope. Why not? So perfect for anybody who plays music or dances, plays in a band, anything really where people like music. There we go. So that's the envelope, that's the inside. Just going to stick that on there, and then I'll do a variation, and I'll also show you how the guitar goes together. So I'm just keeping my fingers underneath while that gets laid down. There we go. There he is. So there's the happy birthday with the actual tune for happy birthday. This one's slightly light, so I'm going to colour that in as well. Just using the blends pen on the memento. There we go. So there's a happy birthday card. Pop that in there for the moment, and then I'll show you the piano and the keyboard one, I think. So I'm going to do a variation on this one here, and yes, and this one. So I'm going to do the piano again, and with the keyboard in the background. So let's grab another piece of white card. So this white card is 3 inches by 4.5. The coloured layer is 3 1/4 by 4 3/4, and then the note card, which is ready cut and prepared for you, is 3 1/2 by 5. So that fits perfectly on there as a layer. So I'm going to stamp the keyboard in the background, and I'm going to bring my mat back in. There we go. And this time I'm going to take the ink pad to the stamp just to make sure it's well covered. That looks good. And I'm just going to do this at random, she says. So you can make these connect up. If you're just very careful, take your time. You can position that one exactly over the top. But for this one I'm just going to do the keyboard randomly. Oh. Try not to throw it everywhere. So make sure, if you're not musical, the black notes go at the top. Okay, so just bear that in mind if you're not musically inclined, if you want it to be accurate. If the person you're sending it to doesn't know any different, then you don't have to worry so much. Okay, so I'm just coming off the end, so just beware that the mat itself is going to have a little bit of ink on it. So be careful if you then turn over the card later. Let's put one a bit further down here, like that, just give it time. And then I'm going to do one at the top. Now the nice thing is with this set, because you've got the little notes and you've got the birds and you've got the little heart, it's quite nice and easy to fill in any gaps if you wish. So I'm just going to position this one slightly high, like so. There we are. So that's going to be my background. Shall I put one in there? No, I'm going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add some notes in. So this is the set here. Now I don't know why I've opened that up again, because I know it's not in there. Right, here we go. So this time I'm going to use the quavers and actually I'm just going to put some hearts. I was going to thinking about I might put them in red, but let's just go as it is. So just going to pop some of these down. Now I've still got the mat, so I'm not pressing too hard. I'm just giving it plenty of time for the ink to get transferred. Because if you press too hard with the mat, then you can actually create an indentation into the card itself, which is what I did very lightly on the first one. So you don't want to go too mad. Oh, and so what I've just done is put my hand on here. That's picked up the keyboard. And can you see it's transferred it onto there? So, but that's fine, because what I'm going to do is put my piano up there, I've decided. So, just goes to show. We did get quite inky this morning one way and another, and I think that was probably why. Using the mats does mean if you're not careful, you can sort of go over and then pick up the ink. I'm just going to put one more up at the top in there. Okay, so that's my background. Let's see if I can cover up my little blip there. So what I'm going to do is stamp my piano. So I'm going to move that one out of the way so I don't get it any dirtier. And then use a piece of offcut card. Now when I have offcuts that's not the right size for any of my note cards or any of the cards that I've cut, then I make sure I trim the edge off, and then I know that that's not the right size for a note card, and I can use it for cutting out, punching and the like. It just means I don't cut into a piece of card that is the right size and waste it. But equally, it means I'm ready to go with some scraps. So when I trim my card down, if I've got that bit left over, I just cut the corner off. And then I know I can use it for stamping and punching sentiments. Thank you, Baz. It also means if I've cut card for classes, people don't then use the best card that's the right size. They know that if it's got a corner cut off, obviously it's not designed to be used on the card itself. So I'm just going to use a light blends pen Just trying to look and see what I've done with my other one. I don't want the really dark one. Sorry. Right, what have I got here? Dark smoky slate in both cases. I've got a light crumb cake. I'm actually going to use that one for these purposes. Let's move that out of the way so I'm not transferring more ink everywhere. And I'm just literally going to come in from one side and from the other side, and to do that bit there. So obviously you could do this in one of our nice bronze colours, and make it look like wood. I'm just going to have a light coloured piano here. So just bring it in from either side, leave a bit of a gap for a bit of light. I'm going to do the legs just lightly. There's the bit at the back and the pedals, and then the leg at the front. It's up to you whether you want to do the top bit as well. I'm going to, because obviously if it was a real grand piano it would be the same colour as the piano, and they can be all sorts of colours. So there we go. A bit more of that, like that. So just blending it in, as it's quite a small area. You could also just use your Stampin' Up markers. Just put that on there, and just that little bit across the front. So the keyboard is mainly white and you can just see the black keys on there. Okay, just making that a little bit darker. Okay, that will do for my piano. So now I'm going to use my 2-inch circle punch. It just fits. You could use a larger one if you want, but for my purposes, especially as we're using note cards, which are only 3.5 inches wide, I don't want to have too much taken over. And then for the backing, I think I'm going to introduce some red. So because these are note cards and envelopes, these are the layers. Oh, hi Lynn, lovely to see you. These are the layers in between. So all I do, if I want to circle out of that, is I punch right in the middle. Now normally I wouldn't recommend punching in the middle, but this is going to be used behind my card. So that's a good way of just utilising that and not wasting a piece of card. So what I'm going to do is pop that onto there. So you could use any glue that you prefer. So I'm just using snail, but you could use wet glue. You could use 2 layers of dimensionals. I'm just going to put that down. So that red layer was punched with the 2 1/4 inch circle punch. So there we go. Right, that is going to go onto there, and that's going to go up there. I'm going to put my message here on the left hand side. Normally I would do it down here, but I'm going to cover that mess up there. So because I want to put this layer onto there, what I'm not going to do is put glue all the way over the middle. I'm just going to put it around the edges. So you could use glue, you could use snail, just not needing to go down the middle really, because it will stick to my card in the wrong place. So just going to pop that on there. Like so. So that that's not sticky on there while I'm working on it. And then my piano is going to go here, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment in here, I think, because then I can just get away with covering that up. So I could do happy birthday, but that's a little bit tight, so I'm actually going to do just a note, because I think that would fit in perfectly with the size that I've got. Yep. Alternatively, I could obviously stamp it on a piece of card and layer it up on top, but I'm just going to go with that as it is. So put my block on there, and it does mean if I make a mess of it, I might still put it on a piece of card. Right, so here's my Memento black ink. I might actually use, just thinking I might actually use red to tie that in. So I've got 3 elements of red on my card. So just bear with me while I clean that off. Okay, so I'm using real red. Real red is the colour of the card that I've used behind. So just going to ink that up, test it on my paper. Yeah, that's fine. I think that would just give a little bit more of a contrast as I'm putting it in there. I seem to have caught the edge on that. Must be something about the weather. We all seem to be fingers and thumbs today. Right, let me move that out of the way. Give myself some space. So let's see. Yeah, just I wanted a bit further over, but I haven't got much space to play there. So I'll just have it as far over as I can get it. Without it touching anything, hopefully. There we go. Whew. Made it. So, yep, that will work. So I'm going to put some dimensionals on the reverse of that from my stash. Oops. I don't really want mini ones, which is what I seem to have in front of me. I've got some odd ones here on the edge. So make sure, even if you've used all your dimensionals in the centre, use up all the edges as well. These are perfect for when you want a small strip, so keep those ones, just cut them off into little pieces, and then they're perfect for sentiments. So I'm just happy with those 3 on there. 2, 3. Now to cover up my fingerprint, and there we are. So it's not quite as nicely spaced, but I think it still does the job. So I'm going to pop that onto a card. So here again is my note card, and I'm just going to add some snail around the edges again. Oop. It's a bit more difficult when you haven't got a flat surface, and the reason for that is because I've got dimensionals on behind there. But I could have used some wet glue, but this will do the job. So there we go. That's it. So there's the finished card. I will just put, I think, a bit of the keyboard here on the right hand side. I won't do it in red. That's not really right, is it? Let's ink up the keyboard in the black So again, just making sure that's nicely inked. I am going to bring my mat in. I'm going to turn it over so that I don't get more ink on the back. I'm just going to pop that on here on the right hand side. Just in, I think. It's a lovely stamp set, Lynn, and so easy to make cards and perfect for anybody that's musical in a band or a singer or whatever. So that's the finished one of that. So let me do one more thing just to show you how you can make the guitar into a complete guitar. So I'll leave that one there for a second. Pick up that one that's fallen over the back. And then let me just show you the guitar piece. So I'm just going to use a scrap of paper. Well, offcut I should say. It's not scrap, it's offcut. And it doesn't really matter. Oh, I meant to put You Rock on, didn't I? Hey ho. Right, I'm going to do this in red just to be different. Now we were discussing this morning, and Rachel, who came this morning, had a great idea, and that is to stamp it onto a piece of red card, for example, or green card. So let's just start with just going to stamp that in the centre in red, and then find the guitar piece. And all I did to do this one was I just looked at the example in the catalogue. So if you look at the catalogue and you see something, you can use that as an idea. If you're struggling, when you look at the catalogue, if you're struggling to work out how something was made or what's been used to make it, then as demonstrators we're given a list of all the products that make up all of the samples. So if you're looking at something and trying to work out if it's an embossing folder or if it's been stamped, then just contact your local demonstrator, and they'll be able to tell you what was used to create it. So I'm trying to remember how I did this now. Okay. I just need to move this down a little bit. So what we're going to do is put the head of this guitar against that bit of the treble clef. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm wondering actually if it was done like that. So just going to have a go. I might need to do 2 of these just to try it out. But what you want to do is just get the 2 pieces connected. Oh, whew. I couldn't do that again if I tried, I don't think. So all I've done is stamp this so it connects with the treble clef here and down here. So if I put that there, hopefully you can see where I've stamped it against the treble clef. And you could actually colour that in. You could stamp it, as I say, onto red card and then cut it out manually with a pair of scissors. That would be really effective too. Or you could just use that in its own right on a card with a simple comment like You Rock, which I'm just going to put on. So you could do that, like so. Although I didn't deliberately do that in the centre because I was just using it as an offcut, but if you had that centred correctly, that would be a really effective stamp design. Now I was going to add some hearts and things, so I might just do that on this one here, although it is quite busy now, I have to say, so perhaps I don't need to do that. So there we go. So let me show you the ones that we made. So So I say that's the stamp set, Music from the Heart, and I'll run through the ones that we made at Coffee and Card. So similar, they're all based on a very similar theme, as you can see. So on this one I've done the keyboard so they actually join up, but I've put the piano here on the left hand side and the sentiment, "You're the music in my heart." That would be perfect for anniversary or wedding, or valentines, and in fact a little heart at the end of that, thinking about it, would look really nice. So I'm just going to do that while I remember, because I know if I put it away that will be that. So I'm just going to pop this tiny little heart, and sometimes it's the smallest of the stamps that are some of the most useful. So I'm just going to stamp it in the red, so just have a little practice on there. There it is, and pop it there. Okay, should I do one on the left hand side? I'm wondering if I ought to do one here. I think I might, just to balance that slightly. I might regret it now, but hey ho, let's go for it. There we go. Sweet. Okay, so that one there has got the keyboards and the piano, and that's raised up on a layer with some dimensionals. This one here just has the keyboards and happy birthday. This one just pure black and white, just a note. If you like the puns, forget your trebles. Another just a note with the little hearts this time, and then this one here I've done just a note but with the little birds on the top, and I saw that somewhere else. I can't take credit for that, can't remember where I saw it, somewhere on the internet, but with the little birds. And then the one that I did to start with is happy birthday with the actual happy birthday music I put on there. So I hope that's been useful and that you've liked the projects that we've made. I have obviously a new coffee and card starting on Wednesday, and that will be a different set, and you'll be able to follow that next Monday at 2 o'clock. I also have my card class next week, and I will show you one of the projects from the class, and that's this one here. So this is using a new stamp set, not surprisingly, and also a new embossing folder. If you can see that really pretty grain on the back of there. So I've stamped that and coloured that one in with blends and used that. And what you can't see very well because of the light is the fact that this is actually spritzed with sparkle as well. And there's a variation on that one. Let me get this out of the packet, although it hasn't got its sentiment on yet. But I just wanted to show off the lovely embossing folder. Oh, hi Monica. So this one has got another new embossing folder. Look at the depth of that. And this one is actually going to have a sentiment going across the top. So that's what we're doing at card class this month. That's just one of the samples. So this is one sample in two different ways. You can see the detail of those embossing folders. This one reminds me of parquet flooring. So it's like a weave. So there we go. And this embossing is lovely. Parisian one. So all of the products I've used are available from Stampin' Up. through a demonstrator. So either myself, if you're local to me, or anywhere in the UK, or if you have an existing demonstrator, then obviously contact them. Hi Monica, I've just seen you flash up with a hi message. So just about to finish here today, but you can watch it on replay, and then this whole video will be uploaded to YouTube, and you can check all of my coffee and card videos that I've uploaded to YouTube. If you just click on my link from my website, or I will add it here on my Facebook page as well, so you can go and have a view and catch up with us and see what we've been up to. So thanks so much for joining. As I say, Music from the Heart, great stamp set, really good value as well, and good fun to play with. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care everybody. Bye bye.